Qui est. Salve, nominum est Gaius Septimus, et tu? Futurus. Ah. Qui senatus populus Romanum, vino veritas. Hello future, good to see you again. I've brought a very special surprise for you. Do you want to see what it is? Luckily, Quintus is looking after my shield, that's why I do not have it now, but all good. Alright, so you're probably wondering, what did the Roman legionaries eat? You see, you would have seen the past bits of my videos about the Roman Empire and particularly the legionaries, but what we often forget is that they ate and they needed fuel to have the energy to conquer and control the borders for the empire. So today I'm going to show you what the Roman legionary ate. So let's tuck right in, huh? Bon appetit, huh? Good. Let me just get more comfortable. I will sit on my cape. So you're probably wondering, why in this video do I have a cape? So it's not quite a sagum, but this is more experimental archaeology, because since I'm going to the Judean front, the weather would have been very hot, and I'm sure the Roman soldiers would have been scorched by the sun. So I theorize that they might have had linen sagums, not wool sagums, for the cold, just to keep the sun off of their necks and their arms and everything. But this is more experimental. There's not a lot of evidence that I found. So interesting, huh? All right. So before we start, and by the way, you're not the only spy, future. There is another spy right there, but zip, the spy is quiet. So you might hear the spy giggle somewhere there, depending how funny I am. You see, you hear? There's a spy. Don't worry, it is actually one of our slaves for our caravan. Hey, how is the cooking going and the supply carrying? Oh, silent treatment. Okay. So before I begin with the food, there are a couple pointers. Firstly is I don't have period correct containers. I do have though my goblets, which was around, and I've got my wooden bowl and spoon. So yes, those would have been everyday items that probably were quite commonly carried around by the Legion. But for example, I don't have a proper amphora, so I'm going to use modern content. I see the slave giggling there. I mean the future person. So I sadly don't have amphoras or anything like that. So just bear with me there. But the food inside is 100% authentic. So what did the Roman legionaries eat? Let's take it out bit by bit, and I'll explain as we go, and then we shall taste it all and see what it was like to eat in the Roman Legion. Yep. What is this? What is this future things? What is this? I don't know. See, I'm the master of improvisation. I shoot a lot of these videos in the setting, so improving is what I have to do. Okay, let's even put this here. I oiled the wood with linseed oil, and it's so much better now. You can see it's got this nice rich color. So I highly recommend to oil the things up. All right, so let's go. First on the list are the perishables, beans. So in antiquity, beans were very common, even loved them in Egypt. So any Roman legionary would have definitely known what beans were like. Beans were very common. Next on the list, yes, here we go, bread. So bread is a tricky topic because there were so many different types of bread in the Roman Empire. So the most common way of baking them in the legion would have just been with all the means you had. But I see quite commonly was to cook it quite flat. It made it very nice and future machine, portable. Made it very nice and portable. So you'll see flatbreads are quite common in the Roman legion. However, only difference is I'm struggling to find emmer wheat bread. This sadly is not emmer wheat bread, which is slightly inaccurate. But emmer wheat is so hard to find. I've been trying to find it everywhere and just cannot. So we're doing with white bread, which would have been quite luxurious because the soldiers had to themselves grind their grains to make the wheat to make the bread. And that's where the phrase, the daily grind, comes from. Soldiers would have had to make their own bread. Often in the cohorts, there would have been bakers and such. Even in the contubernum, which was basically the tent shared by 8 to maybe 10 men, some of them would have been cooking each day, maybe taking turns. Next on the list, olive oil in a modern container. So olive oil was very common in the Roman Empire and enjoyed for its many uses. You could cook with it, you could just simply eat with it as is, which I will show how to do so. Very useful and very nutritious as well. It gives you a lot of energy. It's a very healthy, nice oil. What else have we got? Yes, in a modern container, fish. So the legionaries, we often think of a soldier's diet as being gruel, 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 but the thing is that the soldiers highly valued protein. They needed their protein. And in a Roman legion, there would have been a whole herd of livestock to... Future person, hope you're enjoying so far. There would have been a whole herd of livestock that they would have hauled around with them wherever they could. If it was a bit hard to go with them, they wouldn't. But yes, indeed. So they often had access to fresh meat. Most common on the list were beef and pork. Beef and pork were staple diets, just about. Pork was quite treasured though, even in Roman home life. But in the legion, legionaries would have known the taste of pork and beef. They could have dried it, smoked it, boiled it. Boiling was quite common because it's easy to get a pot and just boil it. Fish, it depends where you are. So since I'm in the Judean province, we would have traveled along the Mediterranean coast and have a lot of access to fish. Maybe even fish imported in from Greece. Greece was a Roman controlled territory. So yes, you find that fish would also have been common in the diets, sort of depending where you are, what animals they had access to. So in my scenario, we have access to fish. Next on the list, honey. Honey, yes, honey, indeed. The Roman legionaries knew about honey. Honey was around. As to how common it was, I couldn't really decipher how common it was, but it wouldn't have been a rare, super rare, uncommon item. So honey was also useful for medicinal purposes. You could put this on a wound and prevent it from getting infected. So I'm sure that any sensible legion would have had a store of honey. And I, Gaius Septimus, would have been lucky to have access to just a bit of honey, and I'll even explain another use for that. Next on the list is one of my favorites, very delicious item. Hey, future person, you wonder what is in here? How did you know? Yep, cheese. However, the type of cheese is quite, you can't just have any cheese you want. And the most common cheese they would have had in the Roman legion is hard cheese. This is hard cheese. So think about Parmesan. It's basically Parmesan. It hasn't changed too much in 2,000 years. Parmesan would have been a really favored cheese by the Roman legionary. Well, hard cheese. It's hard, it's compact, it lasts. And it's really delicious, very salty, nutritious, and the salt is very valuable especially when you sweat it all out on the march. So yes, cheese, a good source of protein and energy. Now, I've had a bit of debate as to the next one, apples. So I once read a source saying that, oh, apples were quite rare in the Roman Empire, a bit like dragon fruit today. So they would have viewed it as being quite rare. But then I see another source that, oh no, apples were readily available. So yeah, you tell me then, future, do the research, see what you can find out. But I've had conflicting sources. But apples were known. And I'm sure especially in Gallia, in modern France, there would have been plenty of apples. So yes, we'll add apples to the list. Now the final, and not the most important, but probably just as important as the bread, is Posca. What is Posca? Huh? You know? Huh? Okay. I'll explain it to you who don't know, like the future spy. So Posca is basically what the Roman legionaries drank. So water in antiquity obviously wasn't as trustworthy as it is today. The Romans had a whole aqueduct system going into the cities, and Rome had, correct me if I'm wrong, but something like 10 aqueducts all flowing into it. And water was questionable at best. So what you would do as a Roman legionary is dilute the water with wine and vinegar. That simply is what Posca is. It's a dilution of water, wine, and vinegar. So over here, and this is a first for me, because when I used to make Posca, when I first started this outfit 3 years ago, I used to just get some red wine and mix it in with water, and there we go, Posca. But I realized all those years I wasn't actually referring to the correct dilution ratio. I just presumed a dash of wine and then the rest of water. So today, for my first time, we're actually going to use an original recipe for the exact dilution ratio as prescribed for the Roman legionaries. And what I've got here is red wine vinegar, which was recommended by the source that I found. And this is basically, red wine vinegar, so we don't have to worry about the wine and vinegar separate. They're all in one here. So we shall start that first. How about Posca, Posca, my kingdom for Posca. So the Roman legionaries would have gotten very thirsty on the march, so Posca was needed. And water was all right to find, and they would have sourced in wine and vinegar with their caravan of supplies and made Posca. So how to make Posca the historically accurate way is, step 1 is you need 250 mils of water. So here's our water, 250 mils. All right. And then it's recommended to have 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. So 2 of these in there. I'm now realizing my goblet's not big enough, so I'm going to half it. I'm going to half everything. I'm not going to pour it out. It's valuable. Oh, but it's not clean. I should put Posca. You know what? Who cares? Life of a legionary is a risky life. I'm drinking water. Oh, what a risk. That's about half. Okay, no, a little bit more. I drank too much. There we go. All right. So instead, we'll now put 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. And then we shall review it and taste it. So this goes in here. Let me move future thing out the way. And then we mix. There we go. Here is our Posca. Future person, you want to try taste? Come on, come on. I'll let you taste that goblet first before I drink. Have a taste, come. And then I shall have some myself. How is it? That says it all. So, Posca, you can tell I've been doing this for a while. So yes, the vinegar is a bit strong. So the thing is that I read an extract from a soldier in the Roman legion saying that the vinegar actually helped to quench his unquenchable thirst. He was plagued by constant thirst. And especially imagine if you're in Judea, how hot it can get. You get so thirsty, and sometimes it's not enough. So that vinegar helps to tip the edge and make you feel less thirsty. So it had use, all right. Think of it as drinking watered down vinegar with a touch of wine. That's what Posca tastes like. Easy to make it yourself. And this ratio is just palatable enough, but not too strong that you can't drink it. Strong enough that the acids in the vinegar break down any bacteria. So that is the purpose of the vinegar, to break down bacteria in the water. So yes, here we go, Posca. Next on the list is our flatbread. So here we go, flatbread. There, nothing much to it. Okay, wait. So this is where the olive oil comes in, because it's nice to water down the bread with something. And what you'll find is quite common is to turn your wheat into porridge. The Roman legionaries also really liked porridge. They would take so they also would have used wheat semolina, and they would have ground up either their emmer wheat or their wheat semolina and make porridge with it. Simple as that. Simply just dilute the wheat and cook it and stir it so it's a porridge. You could even add your vegetables into that, and even your fish into that. Tastes quite nice. But if you are in campaign here and you don't have much time to cook, something that's nice to do is, this would have been also in an amphora, and you simply take the flatbread, and just pour the olive oil on it, and then just gives the bread some flavor. You also want to try some, future? Come on. This is another interesting point, is that in biblical times, breaking the bread is so prevalent in Christianity and Judaism. This is where it came from even before the Roman legion. So breaking bread is a real ancient practice. Interesting, hey?
Just need some balsamic.
Yeah, some balsamic vinegar.
We're winning.
There's vinegar in the Posca. Well, actually, let's try. It's like diluted balsamic vinegar. It makes the bread more watery. Okay.
No.
So something else that you could do, if you had the honey, which is not always a given, is put some honey on the bread. So here we go. Just a little dab of honey. You don't want to overdo it. Would you also like a dab of honey with that? Here we go. Try this, future person. Much better.
Thank you, sir.
It's grazie, not
Grazie.
thank you.
Grazie.
Actually, although that's Italian, not Latin. How do you say thank you in Latin? Still learning my Latin. You see, that's much more palatable. But again, having access to honey, not always a given. So what you could also do is take your meat and add that to future oil must come out. We'll put olive oil with this, much better. So what you could do is eat your bread with your meat, and also add some of your cheese to that as well. So here we go. And this makes for a much more appetizing meal. What?
That's all you. I'm good. I'm good on this one. That's all you.
It's an acquired taste.
I'm sure. You could say that.
More Posca?
No, it's all you.
So any normal person would know what bread and fish and cheese taste like. Very nice. You didn't have fish, you would have used your beef, you would have put your roast or boiled or smoked beef on your bread, mix it with some of your cheese. You could even cut up your cheese. Romans had knives, they had forks, spoons, everything. That would make for a very nice meal. And then to top it off is your vitamins. So beans. You want a bean? Have a bean. I looked for the type of beans they had in Rome, and green beans like this would have been around. Nutritious. Again, what was common is to just put everything all in one and make like a stew or a porridge with this. So yeah, you'll find that nothing better after a 30-kilometer walk. 30-kilometer march, not a mixed walk and march.
You're doing great.
March. Imagine coming back to home in your contubernium of eight other guys who you've grown up with over the past many years, and two of them light a fire inside, and you just make a beautiful stew with some beef, some bread to dip it in, and your vegetables, your cheese. So the Roman legionary ate relatively quite well, depending on things. Sometimes you'll have no access, you will starve. But in general, the Roman legion was one of its traits, and its incredible trademarks was its logistics. The Roman Empire had the ability to bring so many resources and put it into the legion. I read that come the late 2nd century AD, 50% of taxes were spent on the Roman army. So the citizens, for their taxes, half of it was going into the armed forces. So hence, not a bad life, is it, huh? Now, before I end off, apple. So for those of you who've never tasted a historically accurate Roman apple, it's got a bit of a crunch to it, a bit of a juicy flavor to it, but on the inside, under the skin, it's a combination of juicy and crunchy. So it's got a very a fruity taste, but almost is a bit, stop laughing at me, future. But it's got a, you know, sometimes I think all fruit tastes like apples. Think about mulberries taste like apples, don't they, huh? Carrots taste a bit like apples, don't they? Just less juicy. Hey, trust me, think about it. Think about it. Yeah.
Carrots.
Carrots, yes.
Delish.
Yeah, just messing with you. Anyway, wait, let me first finish my flatbread. There's one more thing I want to show you. All right, but patience, all right? I still need to eat, all right? Oh, this one has olive oil and honey. Gaius Septimus has invented a new recipe. Olive oil honey bread. Excellent. I can just see it. When I get back from my 25 years of service, when I'm an older man, I will become a great connoisseur of taste. Picture it. Gaius Septimus, my name in shining flames, not lights, because it's not been invented yet. Wow. Imagine it. And some Posca. So, one last thing that I also saw a recipe for is Posca, our red wine vinegar. Ooh. Try to order this. Logistics. I should be good at this. Now I'll put dirty the spoons.
Hey, you invented another recipe.
Oh, so what I was saying. Okay, fine. The last thing I wanted to show you is honeyed Posca. So there's a recipe alongside the soldier's Posca that I found, where you add another spoon of honey. So we'll add the spoon of honey first then. There we go. Then we add in our tablespoon of red wine vinegar and mix it all up. Since it's not hot, the honey will need to be stirred in a bit longer. The Romans well, let me first say that in Vinderlande they found kettles. They first found fragments and they thought, what are these? Probably more amphoras, more jars or jugs. But no, it had a spout and evidence of being heated, because limestone was often in the water in the area. So they found deposits of limestone at the bottom, meaning they boiled the water. Future, is this a future thing where you breathe in clouds?
I'm magic.
That's like almost touching the gods.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm magic. I'm an angel.
Oh my goodness. She's touching the gods. Are you a demigod? Our great, the Romans believed that Aeneas was one of the founding fathers of the Roman people before Romulus and Remus. And legend has it that Aeneas was a son of Mars and immortal. So yeah, Romans believed that the gods were coming here and there. All right, there we go. Would you like to have a taste first? Have some honey posca. It might be a bit easier to drink.
Better.
Better?
Much.
All right. Yeah, honey posca. So it was definitely a thing. In fact, there were so many different types of poscas. You could even spice it up. You could add herbs and spices in it. And even dates as well. I know dates were used in bread, but you could also pop dates in here and make it all together. But in the Legion, yeah, this was pretty much, you didn't get much fancier than just normal posca. But I can imagine, just as I'm sitting here, as 2,000 years ago, a soldier who had a bit of honey left over would have, you say, why not? I want a bit of a treat. Let me honey my posca. And there we go. Not too bad, actually. So yes, future, this has been what a Roman legionary ate. And trust me, there were many more things I haven't touched on today. Different ways of cooking beef and pork. A few extra bits and bobs in the diet, different types of vegetables. But this so far is just a small glimpse into, yeah, probably just another day. And I might touch on this some more in the future if there's enough interest. But next up, I want to film the life of the Roman legion and the equipment. So if you've seen that before, it means I'll probably release that after that. So don't worry, I'll explain all of this hunk of metal soon enough. So yes, this has been Gaius Septimus, and well, what can I say? Aut Caesar, aut nihil, perator Roma. Cool, that's the end of the video.